Alright, so I'm going to show like what is a class and an object in Java. Essentially what a class is it's a blueprint of an object. So what happens is, say you have a rectangle class, which I'm actually going to show. Rectangle, here, I'll just pull it up. So here's a simple rectangle class. It has attributes, width and height. Both of them are integers. It's got a constructor in there, so when you construct this object, it'll map the width and the height that's passed to the constructor and map it to whatever instantiation you have. And I'll show that in the main method. And then it's got this area. Here, let me pull up two terminals. So essentially, like if you look on the left hand side, there's an area which returns the width times the height, and you can see here I constructed two rectangles and then I printed them off. You can do it this way too. So I constructed one with a width of 2 and a height of 4, and one with a width of 9 and a height of 4. Meaning that the area of that will be whatever it is multiplied. So it should be 8 and 36. You gotta compile them both. And then you type main. You can see I got 8 and 36. So let's go over my notes. You can kind of see what the deal is with that. So essentially a class, like in this case I used a rectangle, is used to define a type. So essentially how you define that type is they need to know the data or fields. In this case it was the height and the width, and they do behaviors with methods. So the behavior or method in this case was the one that did the area. In the AP Computer Science A exam, you need to know about the types: the string, math, system, list, and array list. String is essentially just something double quoted in text. So if you have something like this, like hello world, that's a string. Math, essentially you get extra math calls with that library. So I believe you get like square root and stuff like that. Here, I'll pull up math square root. Yeah. Are they even using the math library? Okay, there we go, not being stupid. They also have E too, for Euler's constant. You could pass anything to square root, but in this case it would return 3, right? We've seen this with system.out.println. List, we'll go into array list and list later, but essentially you can store a list of values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or something like that. This is the interface. This is an actual class type that can be instantiated. So you can instantiate something that will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in it. Like you saw before, we created our own rectangle type, so you can create any type you want. So let's go over some questions. So I should have went like this, but whatever. So how many objects can you create from a Java class? You can create as many as you need. So like in my case, I created 2 of them, but I could have created an infinite amount of classes. So I can show you kind of what they're talking about there. So I can create as many of these as I want. For, well, that'd be 3. I mean, it's kind of useless because we have like one method on here, and The instantiation in this case isn't going to change anything, so I'd have to change those values, but I'm not going to do that because that's kind of a waste of time. But you can see that I just created as many as I wanted. Let's compile that out. Run it. You can see it did 6 times, and I can do that as many as I want. And you can see that there are actually different references in here. So, what specifies behavior of an object of a class? That's the methods. So what is a method? A method is like this area method that we were using. And to invoke that, we had something like this. So this invoked that method right there. And this was how we actually define that method. This stuff will make more sense later. I'm pretty sure they go more in depth on all this stuff independently in the book I'm going through. Okay, fields. So in this case we have height and width. So fields are data or state of an object. So height and width, they're storing data in that case. But you can also store state in there. So that's kind of an overview of what a class and an object is in Java.